Hello everyone, I hope everyone's good. Thought I'd make a video, long time no see. This is just a Joel Clay Aprilia Cup, a great idea he had for MotoGP 21, and I thought I would give it a bash. I didn't have MotoGP 20, so it's been a very long time since I've played MotoGP, and although this game gave initial good impressions, as I played it more and more I realised it's not quite the game that I wanted it to be. So I don't really play this game, but it's nice that Joel has organised a quality event like he always does, which gives me an opportunity to play the game. Here we're at Catalunya and every single person is on an Aprilia, and the way the format works is there's a number of races, maybe 5 or 6, with random lobbies. The lobbies are mixed up. There's 2 lobbies running, and you could be racing against different people each week. And the top 10 or 12 or so riders who accumulate the most points over those 5 or 6 rounds will then go into a final to compete for who can be the Aprilia Cup winner. We're just watching now my qualifying lap. This is the first lap that I did. I just popped onto the game, so it wasn't ideal. Just running onto the curb a bit there, that's not ideal either. We've got fuel and tyres on, so that's another thing that I'm not really used to. I haven't used fuel or tyre wear before, but we do a 37.7. That wasn't too bad. That puts us into pole position ahead of Wacky Sport. And as we skip forward here, Isco just coming across the line as we speak now, not very long to go. He just nicks it and takes pole position, but luckily I can get out and cross the line with 2 or 3 seconds to go to have one more chance to see if I can take pole position. And we head down into the first turn. Quite easy to endo into here, difficult braking zone, but we do it quite well. Somebody's on the inside, I think that's Isco, just getting out of the way after doing his lap. That's very kind of him. We're just down ever so slightly on his time in the first sector. Go around this long right-hander, not too bad. Tricky braking zone here. You don't want to touch the curb on the left, otherwise you endo and kill yourself. Keeping it tight. It's important to stay on the racing line because you have more grip on this game. Really tricky turn 5. Difficult to brake into here, and I go a bit wide, but it's not the end of the world. And there's a cool little thing above the times on the right as we go through the sector 2, 2 tenths under. It actually gives you a prediction as to what your time would be. I didn't even know that was a thing, but that's pretty awesome. Heading now a bit wide again through turn 9. I'm not totally up to speed. This is only my second lap. And we head down into turn 10. Hopefully I'm not going to catch a Wacky Sport as we bounce along on the brakes. Somebody is having a lie down in the sun. He's enjoying life. Luckily he didn't get in the way, and we head towards the end of the lap. We're up again in sector 3. It's looking good to take pole position. This second to last turn's tricky, a bit wide again. It's really easy to understeer wide. You don't want to touch the brakes too much. Same goes for this final corner, but we do that pretty nicely and head to the line. It's looking good, and we do indeed take pole position by over 4 tenths. Not the perfect lap by any means, but I'm happy for it. And being at the front row is the place you want to be. Deck and Mick Mars and Carlos, some good names in here. So hopefully it's going to be a good race. That's really all I want it to be. I'm not too bothered about what happens. I just really enjoy playing for the sake of racing, and that's all I look for. I don't mind if I finish last. Obviously finishing first is nice, but it's all about the battles. As we head off, the race begins. I get a good start, but I didn't know how much of a good start I actually did get. As we head down into the first turn, there's already been a crash. I can't remember who that was, but they had a bit of an accident down the start finish, which was amusing. We do the first couple of turns well, head down turn 3. and it's perfect. It couldn't be any better as the crash yellow flag appears once again. I was over the moon. I don't normally have such clean starts, but no, there was a red flag clearly behind. Many terrible things must have happened. So off we went again for round 2 of round 2, heading down. I got another good start again. I didn't know whether it was good, but I brake at exactly the same point, go in, do turn 1 pretty decently, and there's more yellow flags again. Clearly more carnage was happening behind me. I didn't know what, but I was very pleased with my start again. But another red flag, and at this point I sort of knew that I was going to be collected, and it was just a case of how many goes are we going to have with the whole red flag restarting situation. But we set off again, go down into the first turn, another good start. Every start seemed to work really well, brake at exactly the same point again, but this time I got punted from behind. Surprised I stayed on the bike, but that put me out of position for the second turn, and I was vulnerable to the murder. And unfortunately, after 2 epic starts, the start that we actually commit to is the one where I was murdered, which is a shame, but there were other casualties as well. But it's just frustrating because you're not really in the race when you get murdered, and I thought after a couple of attempts going into the first corner people would have known what they were doing, but I guess not, as there's more carnage ahead. Deck, and I think that was Isco, maybe crashed. I don't know what happened there, but we're up into 6th place, but you're just so far away from everybody else, and you just want to be involved in the race, and it's a shame that everybody's disappeared. But I guess it's one of those things. As we head down into turn 10, more carnage ahead. It's just you can't do anything without somebody crashing into one another. And there I get a couple of track limit warnings. The second one made sense because I did cut the corner a bit, but going wide at turn 10 definitely didn't do me any favours. But it wasn't a problem, it was just a silly mistake trying to get warmed up with the new hard tyres as we head down the start finish. Luckily, with 2 riders ahead, that didn't feel quite so bad. At least I knew I could be involved with something, because there are some people ahead. So at this point things weren't actually too bad as Mick Mars goes wide, and I try to get a better line into turn 3, but it wasn't to be. I'm not sure if running in the dirty air is bad on this game. I haven't played it enough to find out. As we head down into a tricky braking zone, closing in really close behind Roger is Mick Mars, and I'm close behind him, going down into a tricky turn 5, just trying to stay behind them at this point, as there's another couple of guys just ahead, trying to think of where I could go for a move. Turn 10 is probably a good opportunity, running a bit wide into here, still trying to get used to the hard tyres rather than the soft front that we used in qualifying. Exiting turn 9 pretty well. It's closing up. He's actually pulling away, is Mick Mars. Will he go for a move? He doesn't go for a move, but we close in on the brakes quite a lot actually. And Mick Mars takes a really nice tight line. He's up the inside of Roger, but they clash, and no, of course I hit into his bike. I tried to sit up a bit and make sure I didn't hit him whilst I was leant over, but unfortunately it was still enough of contact to take me down, and we're a good way back, 11.5 seconds from the lead, and that was a real shame. I mean, the first turn incident was obviously irritating, but I felt still, even after that, I was somewhat in the mix. But now there really was no hope that anything would go well. I just had to make the most of battling with these guys, and Mick Mars again goes wide into turn 1. It's a repeat of the previous lap. I tried to look for a move, he goes a bit wide, and yes, I do manage to get up the inside. That was pretty nice, but I'm running a bit off that clean line, you can see, and he gets the extra grip, and that's why you don't go on the outside curb there, because I'm so lucky to stay on the bike, but it gives me the inside for turn 4, trying to sneak up the inside, not having it, and turn 5 I brake later than him and try and sort of almost block him off, but he wasn't having it. Staying strong was Mick Mars, and as we head down into this tricky turn 7, and he just nudges me onto the curb. I had to sit up a bit as I thought I would die, and I didn't want to die again, so I wasn't too pleased with that. But Mick Mars is racing really cleanly. He probably just didn't mean to push me onto the curb, but I didn't want to to enjoy that, so I thought, yeah, well, 2 can play that game, I'll shove it up the inside at turn 10. He gave me room, but he does a great cutback, totally different line. That's awesome work by Mick Mars. Probably a really good track to race at as we go past a crashing bike there. That moves us up into 8th position. But yeah, probably a really good track to overtake on with certain turns like turn 10 where you can have different lines, so that was cool. But going through the final corner, he just messes it up, clips the curb, and I got the run onto the straight. I'm trying to get the slipstream from Mr. Chamber ahead as we touch fairings, and I outbraked them both. I thought I was going to run really wide, but somehow I managed to stop for turn 1. I was really pleased with that 2-in-1 overtaking manoeuvre, and that was probably the best action of the race, really. That little battle with Mick Mars, I enjoyed that. It was just a shame that we were both down the pack and it didn't really mean much. As Nancy has a crash, I was worried, sat up a bit, didn't want to hit into him, and I thought, screw it, I'm going for it up the inside at turn 5. The front chattered away, I had to lift off, and I thought he was going to come through, but he doesn't. Is he going to retaliate down into turn 7? I go a bit defensive, but no, he doesn't, and that moves up us into 5th position. And from now on, the gap ahead was so big. I mean, I was desperately trying to catch up and put in some good laps with the clear air that I had, but they were so far ahead. It was just too difficult to catch up on the short race distance that we were doing. But luckily Alex here makes a mistake. I'm not too sure what happened. A tricky turn 5, and that gifts us 4th place. I would have liked to have battled for it, to be honest, but I'll take it anyway. But yeah, that was pretty much it. As we skip here to the final lap, I thought I'd show you my final lap. I had been catching Roger, and I was trying very, very hard on every lap. With the clear air, I was putting in some decent times, but I wasn't riding perfectly, and I was probably a bit agitated from what happened before. But yeah, I just wanted to try and catch up as best as I could, but there wasn't enough time. And here you can see on the final lap, as we head into a tricky turn 5 braking zone, the front was really bouncing away here. I had to run it wide. I was pretty worried I was going to drop the front, so better to stay on than to have another crash. But so close yet so far. I mean, we're only 4 or 5 seconds away from the lead, and it was 11.5. If we had had 5 more laps, maybe it could have been a different story, but it's just one of those things. As we go around turn 10, still just edging closer. Yeah, I just wanted to upload this race really, because I hadn't uploaded a video for so long, and thought it'd be nice to look back at another Joel race in the past. And there are some more rounds to come, so I may upload some videos then. Hopefully they go a bit better than this one has done. And if anybody is watching and you wanted a few tips, the main thing I did discover, you probably saw at the start, if you go into traction control 2 when you set off, you do actually get a far better start than being in traction control 3, so I was quite pleased to discover that. But fair play to Carlos, he ran a solid race at the front. I think Isco was catching him, involved in many incidents, but yeah, a decent race. Thank you very much to Joel for organising it. Just a shame that there was a lot of carnage at the start, and this 15 minutes has gone very quickly. But maybe I'll see you again for round 3. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Take care.